How often were you discouraged from pursuing your dreams?
Oh yeah, all the time.
You've had at points a challenge relationship with sponsors because you'll fight for the money you deserve, and you are clear about what you will and won't do. Still truth to that to this day, or not so much?
Yeah, yeah. I never had like easy relationship with brands that were heavily involved in surfing, I would say. Maybe because they came with a pre-constructed idea of what a big wave surfer should look like, or what a woman surfer should look like. And I don't think at the time I fit the mold. I was different. Sometimes I felt like misunderstood, and I had to really fight for what I believed, of what direction I wanted to go. And then I do think that it also weights that I have a bit of a controversial career in the surf world.
Why do you think controversial?
Well, I don't know if I should filter myself. Well, some people just think I don't surf well. And, there's been a lot of criticisms over, my technique, my braveness, my skill. I don't know, there's been a lot of criticism that comes from important people in my industry that kind of sets the tone. And yeah.
And before I ask you about that specifically, just some context, if you don't mind. Explain the kind of history of there really not being a place for women in big wave surfing.
Yeah. Well, when I started big wave surfing, there was not one woman in the world at the time that would get paid to perform in the big wave scene. It was like this distant niche in the sport that was still completely male dominated. And there were only opportunities for men. And then a year later, there was the first opportunity in professional big wave surfing for women, which was in the Big Wave Awards, something called the overall performance for a woman in big waves. They had that for the men. They had multiple different categories for the men. But then at that time, they established this one category for women. And I thought, well, there's one thing I can win. Let's win that a few times. And that's when I started, and that's when I got sponsored. And that's how I saw a possibility to become a professional.
What impact do you think the fact that she is a woman has on how she's treated by folks in the sport?
Well, I think it has a lot of pros.
Yeah.
Because she proved it, she did it, she established the world records, and she's proven herself in a competition as the only woman against man and has done really well. Now it's just respect, but I think on the way getting there, there's a lot of doubt.
When you're an amateur, they don't see you as a threat. When you turn professional, even if you are a while far from their performance, you start becoming a threat because you start getting media space, sponsorship space, and that's money that is being relocated, right? So at some point, you can ask yourself, would that be to the men if a woman wasn't here?
Yeah.
And probably.
How often were you discouraged from pursuing your dreams?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, I was discouraged by the environment all the time.
A sport is really, it's a lot of jealousy. Only a few people that really make it. I don't think people approach her bluntly, but people will talk a lot of shit behind her back. Whatever you do, if it's something positive for yourself, people will hate on it.
I had one encounter that was quite traumatic. I had just gotten my first jet ski in Hawaii. I was starting to partner up with Carlos for the first season.
Who was your first tow partner?
My first tow partner, Carlos Burley. And I got this first jet ski. And to be a driver amongst a lot of men drivers, it's a big deal. one day Carlos lost the ski, and this photo kind of went everywhere. It was this Red Bull ski flying over my head, and everywhere people thought it was me, of course. And then I got stopped by this legend in the sport in front of the post office.
Who was it?
I'm not supposed to say.
Okay.
And one of the founders of the sport.
Okay.
There's only 3. So,
Okay, wait, then who are the 3?
well, Google it. So one of the founders, he stopped me in front of the post office, and I'm like, this little Brazilian girl, I'm like, oh, this guy's talking to me, and he's like, hi, are you Maya? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I saw what you did. Like, you're a shame to the sport. And so I felt so, like, it was like he punched me in the stomach. And I didn't even know what to say. I just ran. I never made it to the post office. Went home and was like kind of like frozen, I was petrified. Like every time people heavily criticized me, and sometimes they have some right to do it, but the way they put it out there, I'll never understand, because I'll try to think a lot of times before I approach somebody if I feel like I'm gonna harm them. And there's no way you don't suspect that you're gonna harm a girl if you walk and you say something like that,
Right.
Like, yes, what do you want from me? Like, you want me to be better? You feel like I'm not equipped with like skills? Like, what is it? But if you throw it at me like that, you're just gonna make me feel horrible.
Right.
And I just wouldn't do that to somebody.